Hey guys, it's Erica from alittleinsanity.com, and today I'm going to show you how you can take just regular whole or raw whipping cream and turn it into butter in less than 10 minutes in your KitchenAid stand mixer. The tools and ingredients you'll need for this recipe are your KitchenAid stand mixer with the wire whisk installed. If you have one, I highly recommend using the splatter screen. If you don't, you'll need a couple of extra rags to help keep the mess down. 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. You can either use raw or pasteurized. A rubber spatula, an extra mason jar to collect the buttermilk, and a large carafe of ice water with some sort of strainer on top to allow the ice water to flow through but not the ice. Okay, we're going to start this recipe off by pouring in our 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. You can use the whipping cream straight out of the refrigerator or let it sit for about a half hour before using it to speed up the separation process. In it goes. Okay, we're going to start the speed off by gradually moving all the way up till 10. We're going to run the mixer on high until we start to see the buttermilk separate from the butter fat. It takes approximately 3 minutes. Now's a good time before you hit the high speed to attach your splatter guard and keep a rag handy. So I want to stop here because I want to show you there's a fine line between producing whipping cream and separating the butter fat from the buttermilk. And so right now you'll see that we have perfect whipping cream. But in our case, we want to go ahead and continue so that we can have butter. Normally you wouldn't stop, but I'm just going to stop it here so that you can kind of see the process that I'm talking about, the separation that's occurring. So if you look closely in this bowl, you'll see that the buttermilk is starting to separate from the butter itself, the actual fat. We want to go ahead and put the lid back down and continue until we see a real good separation, and then we'll drain off the buttermilk. At this point, you're also going to want to break out your rag, even if you have the splatter guard, because this is where it's going to get messy. Okay, so now is the perfect time to show you where the butter has separated from the buttermilk. All this fat is left is what we're going to be using to make the butter. Now, don't throw away this buttermilk that's left. It's not only great to use for any recipe that calls for buttermilk, but if you're into culturing dairy, this is a great starter. Okay, so I'm going to use my spatula to scrape out as much butter as I can. You'll see it's just sitting there in the buttermilk. I'm going to go ahead and try just to sort of push it into one lump off to the side. Go ahead and pour the buttermilk off into a nice glass mason jar. So our 2 cups of whipping cream yielded about a cup of buttermilk. Okay, so the next thing we have to do that's really important is to now get the last of that buttermilk out and really separate any moisture from the fat that's in the butter itself. And the reason for doing this is because butter with a water content is not going to last nearly as long as just pure fat butter. So in order to do that, we're going to actually take a glass of ice cold water, and I have a little strainer on top, but just be sure that no ice falls into the bowl. And we're going to just add, a couple cups of water. That's good, not too much or it will splash. And we're going to just try to whip the rest of this buttermilk out of there. Your splatter guard back on. So in essence, what we're doing is we're kind of rinsing the fat and the buttermilk out from each other. I'm going to turn it up just a little higher and turn it off. As you can see, the water is still very cloudy, so we're going to want to go ahead and drain off this water just into the sink, and we're going to rinse and repeat the process again. Add in some more ice water and cover it up well. Okay, so our water is almost clear. It's starting to get there. You want to continue rinsing it until the water comes out pretty clean. So in this case, I would probably do it one more time. After rinsing the butter one last time, you can see the water is almost clear and our butter is almost done. So the last step in our butter making process is to remove this butter from the whisk. Then once the butter is removed from the whisk, you're just going to want to go ahead and press the butter into the side. There's just a little water sitting on the bottom of that pan that's coming out of the butter. The more you squeeze it, the more water you're going to get out of it. We're going to drain off that water. Once we drain off that water, there we have it, fresh homemade butter. And that's all there is to it. In less than 10 minutes, you can have fresh homemade butter that tastes like nothing else. You can season it, you can salt it. We prefer it raw, just as is, but it's completely suitable for storing in the refrigerator in an airtight container for approximately 3 to 4 weeks. If you think you're going to need to store it for longer, you can always put it in the freezer, again, in an airtight container. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the fresh butter in your KitchenAid mixer. If you have any questions, you can certainly visit me at alittleinsanity.com or leave me a comment down below here on YouTube, and I'll answer the questions as soon as I can. Thanks so much. God bless. Goodbye.